Welcome to the Enterprise Architecture Radio. In the previous episode, part 1 of Digital Transformation series, we did the first domain of digital transformation, which is customers. And we saw how customer segmentation and micro-segmentation has changed the industry. Today, I would like to talk about the next two domains, which is competition and data. I would like to start with a story. You must have heard the story of the tortoise and the rabbit. There is an extended version of that story as well, and it's actually quite popular on the internet, and there's a good chance that you might have heard it. But if you have not, then let me tell you the story. So the story that you must have obviously heard is that the rabbit and the tortoise get into a race, and the rabbit is overconfident, so on the way he goes off to sleep. And the tortoise continues slowly towards the finish line and wins the race. And the moral of the story is that slow and steady wins the race. So now what happens is, this is the extended version of the story. The rabbit decides that it's not fair and that it's not right to be overconfident. So he challenges the tortoise again to a race, but this time he stays focused, does not go to sleep on the way. He runs all the way till the finish line and wins the race. Moral of the story is, while slow and steady wins the race, fast and steady is better than slow and steady. So now what happens is the tortoise decides that he wants to win the race again. So he challenges the rabbit one more time, but says that we are going to change the route this time. The rabbit is confident and he says, okay. They start the race. Rabbit runs straight on the route. To his surprise, he sees a river on the route. So he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to swim. So he's thinking what to do. That's when the tortoise slowly arrives, jumps into the river, swims across the river, and gets on the other side, slowly walks to the finish line, and wins the race. Moral of the story is, if you can't win, change the rules. While doing all of this, the rabbit and the tortoise become very good friends. And they start talking about the race. And they say, how about we see if we can do the best of our times? How fast can we cross the route and get to the finish line? So they say okay, and they start the race. But this time, on the land, the rabbit takes the tortoise on his back and runs as fast as he can till the river. And then the tortoise takes the rabbit on his back and swims across the river. And then on the other side, the rabbit again takes the tortoise on his back, runs as fast as he can to the finish line. And both of them cross the finish line together. The moral of the story is, while competition is good, collaboration is better. And that's what's happening in the industry these days. The other day I was taking a walk on the street and I saw a car called Toyota Glanza. Now, I'm not a car guy and I don't know cars very well. And I was intrigued by the name Glanza. So I asked my friend, is this a car name, Glanza? Or has the owner of the car changed the name to something that he likes? And he said, no. Glanza is actually a Toyota car, but Toyota does not manufacture the car. Toyota buys the car from Maruti and rebrands it to a Toyota brand and sells it. So I said, why so? They're competitors. Why are they doing this? So he said that, they don't have to go through the process of designing the car, manufacturing the car, and so on and so forth. They just buy the car, which is actually quite a successful model, and rebrand it and give it a Toyota name and sell it and make a profit out of it. They also provide Toyota service, and customers who are loyal to Toyota can buy that car. On the other hand, Maruti doesn't have to go through the retail process and they can sell the cars off to Toyota and make money out of it as well. So, it's a win-win. And this is happening more and more these days. And it's not just about collaboration also. We see competition is changing. If you take the example of Airbnb, they're competing with the Westin, the Sheratons of the world, and they are among one of the biggest hoteliers in the world. But they don't own any real estate, right? They don't have any hotels. They don't hire any staff, right? It's a platform model. Uber is another example where they're competing with the cab companies, but they don't own a single cab. It's again a platform model. Netflix is another example where they don't really sell CDs or DVDs or are not into the medium business, but they're competing with the HMVs of the world, right? The entire business model is changed, and I don't think HMV is selling DVDs anymore. I'm not entirely sure about that. I'll have to look it up. My point is, the competition is changing. And why am I talking about this on Enterprise Architecture Radio? Because technology plays a very important role in transforming this business. And digital transformation is not just about transforming the technologies that you're using within your organization, but it's about refreshing the way you look at business, refreshing the way technology changes the entire business landscape, right? Netflix, for example, it's a technology business, right? They stream media, they stream movies to the houses of the people, right? It's technology that changes their entire business model. Apple changed the music business by introducing a subscription-based model, or, well, they introduced it by allowing you to buy songs on a per-song basis, and then later on moved into a subscription model with Apple Music. Uber changed the entire landscape just by introducing an app, and then the car drivers are onboarded to the app, the customers are onboarded to the app, and they can, call for a cab without Uber owning a single cab, right? So technology has changed the way we look at business, and that's why technology plays a very important role in transforming the business into something completely different. That's competition, right? We have to look at how the competition is changing and how we can transform our business to meet our competition. The second topic that I want to cover today is data. Gone are the days when there was limited amount of data and we could, work with it. Every day, tremendous amount of data is being generated in the enterprises, in the organizations. In fact, by looking at this video on YouTube or by listening to this podcast on one of the podcast platforms, you are generating tons of data, telling the internet, telling YouTube, telling Podbean what kind of podcasts you like, telling Apple Podcasts what kind of podcasts you like. And all these platforms are really looking at this data and customizing or micro-customizing the streams so that you can get stuff that you like more. Tons and tons of data is being generated. So the way we manage data within organizations and within enterprises also has to change. You can't manage data on a piecemeal basis, right? You can't have a CRM and manage customer data only, right? Everything has to be integrated. That has to be an enterprise data strategy, and that is also a part of digital transformation. All the data needs to be integrated. And if you look at your own organization, whichever organization that you're working for, you will see that there's a high chance, and I'm not talking about every single organization, I'm sure there are some matured organizations also out there, but you'll see that there are pockets of data that exist within the enterprise which are not integrated with other data, right? There is silos of data. In fact, in our organization, we have tremendous amounts of data that lies in Excel files, and these are Excel files. Come on, they don't have version control, they don't have safety, they don't have integration with other data, and so on and so forth. So these are just siloed files, right? And if you want your organization to truly become cutting edge, then it's very important that your organization has an enterprise data strategy. I talked about artificial intelligence in one of the previous episodes and how we can enable an organization to become truly AI ready, right? I talked about how AI can take over the job of enterprise architects, right? It's not that difficult really if you think about it. If you have all your data according to an enterprise data strategy, if your data is integrated into the form of data lakes, or you have a data mesh where there is one single data lake, and then there are satellites that pull data from the singular data lake and provide customized data to various stakeholders. And all of this data is API based. It becomes very easy for your organization to become AI enabled, simply because then you could have AI models that can peek into all of this data, do some unsupervised learning, identify patterns, pull out insights, and based on that, they can do enterprise architecture. So all the data that you need, all the grind work that an enterprise architect needs to do to collect this data, to label this data, to identify how all the data is integrated with various applications, with various business functions within the organization, how the data enables the various business functions to work, how the data is integrated with the various business processes that are there within the organization, if all of this can be handled by artificial intelligence software, then the job of enterprise architects become very easy. I always say there are two things that an enterprise architect really does. One is the grind work, and this is where the enterprise architect sits around looking at data, looking at applications, looking at business, looking at processes, and integrates all of this together into an enterprise architecture tool, right? Into an architecture repository. So this is the grind work, and it is not at all fun. When you're starting off your career as an enterprise architect, there's a good chance that you will spend a tremendous amount of time doing just this. And then the other aspect of the enterprise architect's job is the insights. And that's the sexy work, as I call it, where enterprise architect looks at all this data, builds insights on top of it, looks at where there are inefficiencies within the organization and improves it, looks at where there are potential opportunities for improvement, works with the leadership team, works with the CIO and the ECN and so on, helps them with the data, with the insights, and improves the organization as we go along. This information could come very, very handy when we are going through large transformations. Like, for example, if there is a merger happening between two organizations, then if you know how your organization is structured, what are the different business processes, what are the different capabilities that you have within the organization during the merger, making the merger happen becomes very easy. Primarily because mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, spin-offs, all of these large transformations are done with a purpose, right? There is a tremendous amount of cost involved in a merger, for example, because you're buying out a part of another organization or a full organization. And then implementing that merger involves a tremendous amount of cost. And the organization or the leadership of the organization does this merger only because they're expecting a return of investment on it. So if you spend a lot of time in implementing the merger or in executing the merger, then the break-even point of the return of investment goes further. So the faster you get the merger executed, the quicker the return of investment begins, the quicker the break-even point begins. And if you have information about your organization really well, if you know how the various aspects of the business, the processes, the functions, the capabilities, the application, the data, the technology, the infrastructure is going to be impacted by this large, transformation, whether it's a merger, divestiture, acquisition, what have you, you'd be able to execute it better because you know what the outcome is going to be, you know how it's going to be impacted. What are the things that you need to take care of as a part of the execution of the merger, and things get faster. If you don't have this information, if you go about discovering and investigating of how the organization is going to be impacted by a merger, it'll take longer. What I'm trying to tell you basically is that data plays a very important role in transforming your organization. It plays a very important role within the digital transformation. I hope you liked the episode. Let me know what you think. Once again, I would like to remind you that Enterprise Architecture Radio is not just a podcast. It is a collaboration platform. I want to do this so that people come together, work with each other, talk to each other, share information with each other, learn from each other and guide each other. It's a passion project for me. It's not really something that I do to improve my followers, for example, or have an income out of it or anything. In fact, it is a tremendous amount of expense for me, but I enjoy talking about this, and I enjoy learning from others, and I enjoy understanding the different trends that are happening in the industry and so on. So treat it like a collaboration platform. Come together, talk to each other, guide each other, learn from each other, but most importantly, have fun.